After being lost in the ocean for days, Andrew notices they're approaching an island and rows to shore. He helps his partner, Charlie, get off the boat. Due to Charlie's frailty, Andrew assists him in leaning against the nearest tree. Andrew then leaves to find drinkable water. While Charlie is alone, an invisible stranger takes him away. Meanwhile, Andrew notices a figure in the distance and flees away, only to get ensnared in a pit trap. Montgomery observes Andrew's dilemma while visiting a nearby compound. When Andrew awakens, Montgomery instructs a humanoid servant, Enling, to tell Dr. Moreau. Montgomery informs Andrew that they buried Charlie after he died of dehydration and exposure. When Montgomery asks how long they had been adrift, Andrew shows him the carvings in his belt, which disclose that they were lost at sea for 17 days and nights. Andrew was an engineering officer on their ship, which sank after being trapped in a storm. When Andrew asks where they are, Montgomery tells him they are in paradise in the midst of the Pacific Ocean. Moreau arrives and identifies himself as the compound's owner. Moreau observes Andrew's condition and remarks that it's astonishing how the flesh reasserts itself. When Andrew inquires about transportation, Moreau responds that there hasn't been a ship in some time, so they'll keep Andrew entertained while he's there. When Andrew asks how long Moreau has been here, he responds 11 years. Later, Andrew gets up after hearing the wails of an unknown beast, but his focus shifts to Maria downstairs. Montgomery, on the other hand, warns that she belongs to Moreau. Curious, Andrew inquires about the creatures on the island, to which Montgomery responds, all kinds. After presenting Maria, Moreau informs Andrew that he moved her to the island after discovering her in a crib in Panama City at the age of 11. As they head for dinner, Moreau urges Andrew not to leave the compound after nightfall. At dinner, Andrew discusses the evolution of machinery such as submarines and the near invention of airplanes. However, Moreau inquires about man's development, pointing out that one-celled organisms are more complicated than machines. When Montgomery claims he hasn't noticed any progress in humanity, Moreau believes he simply wasn't searching in the right places. Before leaving, Moreau mentions Montgomery's past as a mercenary, but Montgomery claims he is still one. As Maria returns to her room, Andrew follows her and inquires about the island's attendants, but Maria responds that no one was there prior to Moreau. Andrew requests more information, but Maria's limited knowledge leads him to believe she has never left the island. Maria maintains there is no boat for her, and when one arrives, Moreau does not allow her to see it. Nonetheless, Maria insists that she would rather live there than anywhere else. After Maria says goodbye, Andrew runs downstairs when he hears loud groaning coming from a shed. However, the moaning quickly ceases, so Andrew proceeds to the library instead. He looks through the books till one catches his eye. He flips through the pages when Moreau appears, telling things about himself, figuring this is what Andrew was looking for. Moreau is a doctor of chemistry, physiology, and anatomy who has shown great potential in his research on cellular structure and growth. Despite his contributions, he was chastised for being speculative and poorly researched. Moreau lists the books he's published, which discuss the link between humanity and the universe, as well as eugenics. When Andrew expresses an interest in his work, Moreau shows him his collection of human and animal embryos, explaining how everything looks the same but takes diverse forms as they grow. He wonders how that happens and if the resulting form can be changed, but Andrew questions whether they should. This seemed to disappoint Moreau, so he wishes Andrew good night. The next day, Andrew inspects his boat on the beach and notices a hole in the side. Maria then appears with her pet cheetah. The two meet each other, but when Andrew attempts to grasp the cheetah, it flees, so they pursue it through the woods. While the two separate in their quest, Andrew comes across Enling by a little creek, drinking water on all fours. When he notices Andrew observing him, Enling flees. Soon, Andrew discovers Maria with her pet already in her arms. That night, Andrew approaches Montgomery to ask where Moreau is, but Montgomery forces him to drink with him instead. Thus, Andrew questions Montgomery about Enling's unusual behavior, but the mercenary claims it is a local norm. Andrew isn't convinced, but Montgomery insists on Moreau explaining everything. Andrew notices Montgomery doesn't enjoy the island and wonders why he stays. Montgomery simply says he sleeps better there. The next day, Andrew sees Montgomery and Moreau pulling a chained Enling. Despite Enling's objections, Montgomery takes him away. Andrew inquires as to what is wrong with Enling, and Moreau responds that he is unsure because his job does not always yield answers. Andrew accuses Moreau of injuring the servant, but Moreau explains that Enling is a unique form of person, and he is assisting him. Later, Andrew goes to the beach and pushes his boat to shore, hoping to escape the strange island. Someone unknown to him is watching his attempts. After failing to get the boat across the waves, he returns to the jungle but stops when he notices activity behind the trees. Frightened, Andrew flees as strange things pursue him until he meets Montgomery and Moreau. Andrew, terrified, recalls the things that are chasing him. Moreau orders him to return to the compound, ignoring Andrew's inquiries about what the creatures were. At the compound, Andrew enters the shed and observes several exotic animals in cages. Moreau's laboratory is located further within. Andrew approaches the covered table in the center and examines what's beneath. There, he encounters a beast-like human that growls at him. When Moreau and Montgomery return, Andrew inquires as to their current activities. Montgomery suggests that Andrew will get over it just like he did. After Moreau orders Montgomery to go, Andrew inquires about the creature. Moreau says it's a bear, but Andrew isn't sure. Andrew questions Moreau about what he did to the creature when he notices it is in distress. Moreau calmly admits that when he arrived at the island, he considered letting Andrew float back into the water. However, Moreau noticed Andrew's scientific mind and wants to discuss what he's working on with him. Moreau claims that he has almost conclusive evidence of the cell particle that governs living beings. He then injects the creature with a drug that he believes contains the biological code to deactivate the animal's instincts. Moreau believes that this will enable them to transform the creature into anything they desire, including a human person. The creature begins thrashing before losing consciousness. When Andrew wonders why he's doing this, Moreau answers that it's to control heredity and correct human defects. Later, Maria discovers Andrew in her room. As Moreau peers at Maria's window from downstairs, the two begin to indulge in their desires. The next day, Andrew discovers more servants and confronts Moreau. The doctor confirms that they are animals, then turns and indicates to another one within a cage. Moreau frees the hybrid and takes it to a bear cage. After a few moments, the bear begins licking the hybrid's arm. Angered, Moreau whips the hybrid, leading Andrew to intervene. The doctor is angry that his hybrid is still an animal, so he instructs Andrew to get Montgomery. Montgomery rushes into the shed, allowing Andrew to grab a gun from his cabin and escape the premises. Andrew follows grunting sounds through the woods, eventually finding himself in a cave. Inside, hybrids emerge slowly from the darkness to surround the terrified guy. One hybrid known as Sayer of the Law goes forward and speaks to Andrew in excellent English. He points out that Andrew is a man like them and must learn the regulations that prohibit them from walking on all fours, eating flesh, or shedding blood. However, one aggressive hybrid attacks Andrew, prompting Moreau to fire a warning shot. The doctor determines that the hybrid violated the law by hitting Andrew, and so he will be sent to the House of Pain. He then warns the hybrids that if they defy Andrew, they will be punished. Back at the compound, Andrew opposes Moreau's treatment of the hybrids, arguing they need some attention. However, Moreau points out that science is brutal, but it produces wonderful results. Andrew maintains that the creatures are no longer animals to be experimented on, and Moreau agrees. He explains that the creatures have acquired human characteristics like his hatred and wrath, so they must fear them to keep them in check. Andrew rejects such cruelty, but Moreau discloses that the next ship will arrive in 2 years, giving Andrew little choice but to stay and become one of them. Moreau complains that, despite his attempts to humanize his hybrids, they inevitably revert to their animalistic instincts and become dangerous. He emphasizes that if the hybrids leak even a drop of blood, they will be overwhelmed. As Montgomery prepares to return the chastised hybrid to the cave, Moreau remarks to Andrew that the hybrid now appears more human, having been free of his bestial rages. When the hybrid is returned, the Sayer of the Law observes that he appears more human. A bull hybrid argues that being an animal is preferable because they are strong and proud, and that Moreau's law should not apply to them. After the bull hybrid flees, the Sayer of the Law explains that it is their law because they are men, but the others aren't convinced. Andrew repairs the boat on the beach and informs Maria that it is nearly finished as they intend to depart together. However, Maria is terrified to live anyplace else because the island is all she knows. Meanwhile, the bull hybrid encounters and fights a wild tiger. As the scuffle continues, the hybrids leave the cave to investigate. Maria and Andrew rush back to the facility after hearing this, only to run across Montgomery and Moreau, who invite Andrew to join them. When Moreau offers him a gun, Andrew declines. They soon get at the battleground, but the tiger has already died and the bull hybrid has disappeared. Moreau hands Andrew the gun again, and this time he accepts it. They proceed to the cave, where Moreau demands which hybrid violated the law by shedding blood. The hybrids gradually evolve into bull hybrids. When the bull hybrid flees, the rest of the hybrids and mankind pursue him. As they continue their pursuit, one hybrid instructs Andrew to accompany him, so he dismounts his horse. The hybrid leads Andrew to the bull hybrid, who is hidden in the bushes. He begs Andrew to murder him because he doesn't want to be in the abode of suffering. Andrew, feeling sorry for the beast, regretfully shoots him in the head. When everyone hears the gunshot, they rush to his place. However, the other hybrid refers to Andrew as his is the hand. That night, the hybrids set fire to their dead comrade's body on a bonfire in the sea. The hybrids assemble around the property, growling and pointing to Andrew with torches. Montgomery claims they do not like him. When Moreau approaches them at the gate, he simply stares at them, prompting them to walk away. Later, Moreau gets a siren from his lab, and Andrew and Maria begin collecting their stuff in a hurry. When they are about to leave, Moreau unexpectedly injects Andrew, knocking him out. Maria begs Moreau not to let Andrew suffer, but he cannot make that promise. Back in the lab, Andrew is strapped to the table while Moreau begs for his forgiveness for what he is going to do. The doctor is still baffled as to why the hybrids return to their animalistic instincts, blaming their inability to communicate adequately with him for impeding his work. As a result, Moreau injects Andrew with a serum and asks him to describe how his cells react and how it feels within his body and brain. Andrew loses consciousness following the injection. The next morning, Andrew awakens to see that his body is already transforming into an animal. He yells in fear, and Moreau injects him again, knocking him out. Montgomery is taken aback by what Moreau has done in the lab. He demands Moreau release Andrew, but the doctor reminds him that studying nature requires being as sorry as nature. Montgomery, seeing what Moreau is willing to do, holds him at gunpoint and demands Andrew's release. Moreau relents and instructs Montgomery to retrieve the keys to Andrew's chain from his room. However, the moment Montgomery turns away, he shoots him and drags his body into a cage. Later, Emmeline sneaks inside the shed and takes Montgomery's body, leaving it outside the gate. Then, a male hybrid grabs it. Andrew yells in pain at the lab, prompting Moreau to remark that his mind is becoming animalistic. However, Andrew claims that he still thinks humanly. When Moreau claims that Andrew is becoming into an animal, Andrew yells that Moreau is the animal. Meanwhile, Montgomery's body is transported to the cave, where the sayer of the law states that Moreau violated the law by murdering him. The next day, Moreau sends live rats for Andrew to consume as an animal, but Andrew declines. Moreau insists that he follow his instincts, so Andrew tries to take the rats but fails. To remain human, Andrew recalls his previous existence and vividly describes how his sibling died. Andrew weeps at the remembrance. This enrages Moreau, so he demands Andrew abandon his humanity. He hears sobbing in the distance and investigates. When he goes to get his whip, he discovers Montgomery's body has vanished. Still, he sets out to deal with the other hybrids. With Moreau gone, Maria rushes to Andrew. Andrew tells her to retrieve the key, though he stumbles with his words at first. However, Moreau holds the key. Andrew begs for help as Maria looks at him with pity. Meanwhile, Moreau departs the complex to pacify the rioting hybrids. He requests Montgomery's body be returned, but the sayer of the law accuses him of disobeying the law and hence must be punished. Moreau attempts to force them back into the cave, but he is overwhelmed and knocked from his horse. Despite lashing, the hybrids continue to pursue Moreau as he flees. Meanwhile, Maria releases Andrew and grabs a revolver for good measure. The hybrids eventually catch Moreau and grab his whip as they encircle him. Moreau desperately reminds them that he created them, but the hybrids attack him all at once. The hybrids bite and claw at him until he stops moving. The sayer of the law is astonished since they have breached the law by killing, but the rest demand no more laws. The sayer of the law argues that laws are necessary since humans are not animals, but he eventually succumbs to popular opinion and transports Moreau to his lab. However, Andrew stops them, claiming to be one of them. Still, the hybrids refer to him as a master, so Andrew fires a warning shot, sending everyone fleeing. Andrew examines Moreau's dying corpse. With his final breath, Moreau reminds Andrew that he is an animal, causing Andrew to roar in rage. Later, Andrew tells the hybrids that Moreau is still alive and must be feared and followed. This infuriates the hybrids, and they break through the gate. Andrew then directs Emmeline to hoist Moreau's body, which is hanging by a rope. When the hybrids notice Moreau's eyes open, they freeze, allowing Maria, Andrew, and Emmeline to hide. After discovering that Moreau has died, the hybrids smash down the gate and cause havoc, starting a fire in the facility. Some hybrids let the cage animals go despite the sayer of the law's warnings that the creatures aren't like them. The hybrids fight the animals and are eventually destroyed one by one. The three flee once the danger is past, but a lion tackles Emmeline into the pit. Maria and Andrew, unable to help him, continue their escape by pushing the boat into the sea, but a hybrid catches up with them as they embark. He pushes Andrew into the water, but Maria grabs the oar and smacks him away. Even when Andrew gets aboard the boat, the hybrid continues to attack him. Maria uses the oar to fend him off once more while assisting Andrew in his recovery. When the hybrid reappears, Andrew strikes him over the head, shattering the oar. When the hybrid is gone, the pair unwinds. However, he returns, and Andrew impales him with a broken oar. While they row to escape, the property burns down, with Moreau's body hanging at the gate. Andrew, adrift in the water, awakens to his human form and hears a ship in the distance. He begins begging for aid, and Maria watches on with tears in her now feline eyes. So what did you think of this movie? Leave it in the comments below, and if you enjoyed the video, please like and subscribe for more movie recaps. See you in the next video.